December was an interesting month with horror, Christmas, and Christmas horror. Of course, it was the holiday season, so I did read a little less often because my routine and energy were a little chaotic, but it didn't end up being a particularly slow month either because I took a bit of a break from work, and so I could read for longer periods of time. I finished Frankenstein, Gremlins, and The Black Beast of Belleterre. Keep watching for my thoughts on these. Hi, hello, welcome in. I'm Jerica, and I'm an editor, writer, and all-around content creator, and this is my December reading wrap-up. This was a pretty good month of reading with some interesting choices. Of course, if you were here for my December TBR, you know what makes them interesting, but for those of you unaware, let's get into the holiday and horror of it all. My first read was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This doesn't really feel like a very December-y book, except that I feel like in the winter I do think that like darker stories are appropriate for whatever reason, but I'm also always in the mood for a darker story, so maybe that's just me making excuses. But part of the reason that I wanted to read this, other than just wanting to read it, because how the heck have I not read Frankenstein yet? Was because the movie came out and I really wanted to watch the movie, but I really wanted to read the book first. Partially because obviously I've seen a lot of adaptations and references to Frankenstein, but I'd also heard that the book was very different from those. And so going into the new movie, I really wanted to have a sense of what the original was and the differences from other adaptations and references, and then how all of that compares to the new movie. Now, I am going to do a more in-depth video about this. I do think it will be my next review, in fact, because I have so much to say about it. I've talked to other people about it a lot as well, especially people who have read and watched the new movie. So, some thoughts on the book itself. I'll try not to get into the movie. Thoughts on the book itself. I had no idea where, or like the structure of the story. So, I don't think this is spoilery to say that at some point you end up being in a story within a story within a story, and I had no idea that that was going to be the structure of it. Something else that really stood out to me was I feel like a lot of adaptations focus more on the creation of the creature, and the book, it's such a small part of it, and it's so undetailed. So part of me really wants to understand where the details for how the monster was created, or sorry, how the creature was created, because I don't, like, did I miss it while I was reading it? Or did people really just make up a bunch of stuff? Because as far as I can tell, the only details that we really have is that Victor went and found pieces of corpses that were large, because that would like help in the making of it, like being able to like work with larger pieces. And I think there was something about him wanting to like create something that was like larger than life as well. I'd have to go back and reread it again, like off the top of my head, but there's no like, I feel like there's always like this big thing about like calling down the lightning, and like, I don't know, maybe there's like one line or something and I just like missed it, or maybe it's because it happens during a storm and so there's like that idea of it or something. I'm just confused. And then to kind of go along with that, there's a character that's been added to, I think, every adaptation or reference I've ever seen. Igor doesn't exist in here. And I kind of like kept waiting because there is a character that I thought could maybe like become the Igor. But he's really just been added to everything else for some sort of comedic relief. And it's like, well, maybe we didn't need comedy in this story. I don't know. Not everything needs that. So that was something that kind of like threw me off too. I did cry. Crying happened. I won't tell you what part. I'll let you guess for now. If you get it right in the comments, I'll let you know. But I will talk about it in the review because obviously I'll do a big like spoiler section in the review like I usually do. Yeah, I don't know. It was a really good book. I it might be a 5 star. I think I maybe gave it a 5 star. Let me double check. Because I actually went through and put star ratings on all the books that I read this year because I hadn't been doing that. So hold on. Yeah, I did indeed 5 star it. Which I don't I don't give a lot of 5 stars out because things have to be like really like they have to be extremely entertaining. And they have to be like really well written. The structure of the story has to be good. Or one of those has to be so phenomenal that I don't care about the other ones not being like, you know? So that's Frankenstein. I have so many more thoughts. So if you're interested in those, definitely, you know, stay tuned. My next read is an odd one, and it mixes together the Christmas and the horror. So this Frankenstein was obviously a horror, and the last read is kind of Christmas. It's more winter than Christmas, I guess. And even then, it's not. But it is in a book with Christmas in the title. Anyways, Gremlins is a weird one. It's a Christmas story. It's also a horror story. And it's also written from the screenplay, which I think is super interesting. So the way that I really wanted to read the book before I watched the movie for Frankenstein, obviously I've seen the movie Gremlins. I quite enjoy Gremlins. And I wanted to rewatch it after I read this, and it's not on any of the streaming services. So I haven't done that yet, which makes me really upset because I did really, really, really want to watch it like right after I read this. But usually, you know, books get turned into movies, not movies into books. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing about Gremlins. I will say, like, reading through Gremlins, even though, like, I haven't seen Gremlins in a long time, I know that I like it, but it's definitely, like, a fuzzy memory of everything that happens in it. So there are definitely parts of the book where like I was like picturing the movie and like hearing the lines of dialogue from those actors kind of thing. But then there's a couple spots where I'm like, I don't remember that happening. So that was like part of the reason I really wanted to watch it, was because I was like, did they change things up? Did they elaborate on that? Or do I just not remember? But I will say it was a super enjoyable book. There's definitely some nostalgia that comes into that because it's like, I think I watched it for the first time, I want to say I was like 10 or something like that. Because I remember watching it on a Halloween at my Nana's house with like my best friend at the time. Like that's like a weirdly vivid memory. Like the movie itself isn't super vivid in my memory, but the like context of watching it is. Which, weird that it was at Halloween considering it happens at Christmas. Anyways, I do think that it was like a really good, like they did a really good job of capturing the movie in the book. And yeah, I just really enjoyed reading it. So there's that. So the next book, obviously I didn't read all of this. This is a novella collection. It's called Christmas Revels. So I read the last one in it because it's the one that drew me to it the most. It's called The Black Beast of Belleterre, and it's kind of like a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. At first I wasn't sure about it. There were like a couple of lines that like I was just like, it's not the best. But the story itself, I think, really saved it from that. And the romance part of it, I think, was really well done. Now, that being said, this is maybe the first like romance that I've read. Like, obviously things have romantic like subplots and things, but this was very much focused on the romance. And so like maybe it's something like of the genre, the way that like other parts are written. There is one part that I don't think is really a spoiler, so I'm gonna say it. There's one part where it talks about the type of tree being an oak tree, And then, like, later on, we return to the same tree. It talks about having apples on the tree. And I can maybe, like, let that go if, like, apple is just meant to mean fruit, but, like, the word fruit exists. Um, and I'm not really sure what the fruit of an oak tree looks like. Like, I know acorns exist, but is there ever, like, a fruit, or is that, like, outside part of the acorn, like, the fruit? I'd have to look into it. And it's just, like, it doesn't matter for the story, like, at all, but it's something that stands out to me that, like, as an editor, I would have pointed out, if that makes sense. And that's something that, like, I don't know that anybody else would even notice it. Obviously, the editor didn't notice or care, and the author didn't notice or care, and maybe it does have to do with the language because it is, like, set, I don't know, in the old-timey days. I don't know if they give, like, an actual date, and I'm terrible at picking a date. I don't know when things were going on. But that like stood out to me, but I did actually really enjoy it. I do have one kind of spoilery thought, and because I don't know that I'll do, like, maybe I'll do, like, a review of each of the stories in this in, like, one video, I'm not sure. But in case I don't, spoiler, I have mixed feelings on, like, the meta that comes up near the end, because obviously this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I think it's a really interesting take on the story. But then the story Beauty and the Beast comes up, and the reason I have mixed feelings on it is because when it was introduced, I was like, ugh, really, we're doing this? But then, like, the way that it ends up playing out, I really liked. And I guess I could get spoilery with that, but we'll leave it at that. Either way, really enjoyed it, and the spoilers for the next TBR video is this is going to continue being on there. I'm going to try at least one more story out of it. I'd say I'm going to do it 2, probably, at some point, simply because there's another period piece, and then there's a modern story in it. And so I'd like to do both of those. And at that point, I might as well just read the other 2. So you know what? Fine. You're probably going to get a video about all 5 of the stories in this. I think that's it. So, let me know if you've read those, if you have thoughts on them. I'd love to hear. If you are going to put spoilers, I do just ask that you, like, put that as, like, the first word in your things, that people who are trying to avoid them can still avoid them. Just a courtesy to your fellow commenters. And as I mentioned, be sure to check out the next TBR video, which is going to be a little different. We're making TBR videos quarterly now. You'll learn more about that in the video itself, so I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you read last month, how you finished off 2025, and how those books held up for you. And I hope you had fun. I had a blast. Catch you next time. Bye.